whatever it is in external. Here 10 marks is huge, right? Here the 10 marks is huge because I need to give for 15 mark question. I gave for 10 marks. So what does it mean? You need to explain what is function prototyping, why we need it, what are the limitations, one syntax, and then example. This is what you need to explain. See, most of you are eager to leave the exam by 10:15 or 10:05, right? So you don't have patience to sit till the end, right? So how you can expect the marks? That is the one thing. See, some people who got 48, 49 or 47, where you lost the marks is, I told you very clearly, when you're writing the program, you need to write the output also. You need to write the output also, right? And also you need to write the comments. More than output, comments are very important. Say for example, if you're writing for scope resolution operator, you need to mention where you implemented scope resolution operator. Otherwise you lose the marks. I'm not going to lose the marks. I told you very clearly before the exam only, right? And those who attempted third question, function overloading and area, most of the people, I told you very clearly, the program which I have given is for the marks. For the function overloading, you need to write an example. You need to write a simple example. The program which I gave, it is my own program I have given. When you are explaining function overloading, you should write what is function overloading, how it will be implemented in C++ with a small example. I could see like maybe Sumit or Vishal, one or two students, they really rendered very beautifully that question. Especially that question, they rendered very beautiful. Remaining all, no one is cared about it. Just simply they wrote what is function overriding, simply blah blah blah, some explanation, then start with the program. So that's where you lost the 1 mark. That's where you lost the 1. And coming to the, I have very big doubt. If you want, read me out names also, I'll read out, but I don't want to do it. So let me get the answer, especially for the 5th question, Java buzzwords. See, I told you very clearly, I gave in PPT also, there are 11 buzzwords, please prepare that answer. See, I could able to see a couple of students, I don't know from where they have written, it is point wise, it is object oriented programming, it is in, what is that, interpretable and it will use interpreter and compiler. Something they have written, whether I don't know whether they have scanner, whether they got it from some other section. I don't want to comment on that. See, if you are falling under 45 marks, it means if you have attended 5th question, you lost more than 3 to 4 marks there. If you have not written the answer, which I explained you. Again, I'm repeating, those who attended 5th question, if you have not answered the answer, which I explained you, you might have lost the 3 to 4 marks. I have the names also. I noted down the names also because I need to get the clarity from where you got the answer. When time comes, personally I message you, I'll get the answer from where you got that. See, please don't do mistakes. That's what I mean to say. Please don't do mistakes. I'm very happy for few things in overall scripts. I'm very happy for the first point is programs. Whether you mugged it up, whether you learned it, whether you by-hearted it, I don't know. But all of you, most of you, I won't say all of you, most of you rendered very nicely the programs. Very nicely you have rendered the programs on the paper. And I still remember, I think Sumit or someone, that is one of the best script I have seen in this IA. I think Sumit or Vishal. They have neatly mentioned the comments, and no clumsiness and all. Ashish tried, but there is little clumsiness. He missed some point and then put arrow, all those things. See, each and every point we'll observe. We need to correct it means we need to observe. Please make sure that you are writing, you are not missing not even single point. Don't worry, I have given less 2 marks, 3 marks. You will get it later. Why I removed that 2 marks or 3 marks is you need to understand why sir has reduced that 2 marks so that you don't do the same mistake in your external exam. But overall, I'm very much satisfied with your answers. Most of you, except 1 or 2 students, I don't know what is the problem with them. I'll come back to you. Those who got less than 40, I'll be keep on insisting you. If you have any doubt, please ask, please ask. So you don't ask in the class. Again, you will get confused. If you are losing the marks, again, I'm telling it is going to be a loss for you. I'm not for me. It's going to be a loss for you, right? I'm not going to lose anything, right? So make sure that by next IA, everything will be clarified. That is the reason I won't do the revision classes. You can ask anybody, your seniors, super seniors. In my whole SVC career, I never did revision class except for your class. Because I found there is a big problem in your class with respect to writing the answers. You students are very good, I know. Entire 67 students or 66 students, you are all good. But the problem where you are facing is you don't know how to write it. Which subject, how to write. AD, how to write. OOC, how to write. DA, how to write. See, knowing the answer is the first step. Writing it properly is the second step. Rendering it in a proper fashion is the third step. Am I right? See, I have paint, I have brush. If I don't know how to paint or how to art, it's mere waste of having with me, right? Now I know painting, I have paint and brush. I know painting, I'll just keep on doing the painting, but I don't have a proper procedure. Then what is the purpose of doing the painting? So that is a problem in your class. You have everything is ready. Your knowledge is good. Your understanding is good. The way you understand is good. The way you digest the subject is good. But most of you don't have the skill of writing it on the paper. That is where you are losing the marks. I told you so many times, not only now ADE class also, make sure that see the question, see the marks, how much you should write, you write it. Don't simply write like that, right? I don't remember one more script. She attempted all the questions. Part A, part B, part C, all the questions she attempted, right? See, if I'm very happy she attempted, but I'm not happy because she not got out of out. See, getting 49 or 48 in my subject is easy, but getting 50 is very difficult. If you got 50, make it in a note, make it in your one paper, you write it down. Surely you will be the topper in that subject in final exam. I'll give, my border is 48, 49. If you see, if I'm giving 49 to you, it means your marks is only 44 or 45. Remaining 4 based on your performance in the year I have given. If your marks is 47, your performance is 42. Remaining 5 will be your attitude, your performance, how you have written the answer in the script. Your so many things will carry, right? So that is how it would be. So I'm just giving instructions because by next year I want everyone to get maximum marks. If you get 50 out of 50, I'm telling you, you will be the topper in that subject. So try to score good marks. Don't do the same mistakes again and again. I told you very clearly, function overriding, you need to write an example, then you need to write the program. But I didn't even see 1 or 2 scripts, that's it, right? Fine. So I don't want to waste much of your time. Let us start going with the syllabus. Fine. Let me share my screen. Yeah, hope my screen is visible. So any doubt with respect to IA which you want to discuss in open forum, I am very happy because it will also benefit your friends. You may feel that, sir, I have written like this, I lost some marks here. Don't ask me for 1 or 2 marks. I am telling again. If you are asking for 1 or 2 marks, some people they experienced in ADE. If they come for 1 or 2 marks, they will be reduced with 5 or 6 marks, right? Because as I said, 4 or 5 marks is like a grace marks, which I have given. Right. All right. So before we start, let me just. So any doubts with respect to programming, Java programming? How many of you practiced? At least how many of you looked at it? Raise your hands, those who have had a glance look on the programs. I know you are all busy with the classes, but still, could be able to see a couple of hands. Okay. I know you are all busy from morning to evening because of the busy schedule. Plus, but make sure this subject is very important. As I said, not for the VTU exam. Don't worry about VTU exams. It is for the placements. This is very important. Yesterday, madam have posted, if you might have seen, these are the students got selected for TCS. In that picture, almost 4 to 5 students are from ISC. That is a track record what we have. Till today in 8th sem also, we have most of the students got placed for Infosys TCS, Huawei Technologies, Jaro Education, so many companies. So how they got placed? You just talk to them. If you know any one of them, surely they will say this is the reason. We know the basics of these languages. So please keep little time to practice the basics. If you are not practicing, you're going to forget it by the end of the week or end of the month. After that, it's very difficult. It's very difficult, right? Yeah, still people are joining, no problem. Because it's lunch time. Everyone will be busy in the lunch. All right, great. So any questions with respect to your IA scripts, you can put me personally message. I'll check where I have reduced the marks and I'll also let you know why I have reduced the marks. Right. So as I said yesterday in the class, I mean day before yesterday I have not taken the class. So today we are going to start with the module 3, class inheritance and exception handling. See, these three are the pillars for Java. In my opinion, these three are the pillars for Java. Not only Java, any object-oriented programming, classes and inheritance plays a vital role. And exception handling is the beauty of Java. Exception handling is the beauty of Java. This is one of the the most interesting concept which I learned in my whole life. Because still learning exception handling, I never thought, okay, there is a concept called exception handling in programming, right? Because see here, what you are doing is you are learning Java in 4th sem. So when we studied our engineering, we used to study in 3rd sem itself, Java. By this time, we completed with Java projects also, right? Fine. So now, what we are going to see now today in this particular module is we are going to talk about classes, inheritance, exception handling. This is a module, entire module, which is going to cover about. First, we will start with classes. We are going to talk about class fundamentals and how to declare the objects. Then we will see constructors as we have seen in C++. And we are going to see that this keyword, then garbage collection. See, this garbage already you have seen in C programming, but you don't know this is called garbage collection. So that we are going to see here. Then we'll start with inheritance. We'll study about the basics of inheritance, how to use the super keyword, and how to do the multi-level hierarchy, method overriding. At the end of this module, we are going to study about the exception handling. So exception handling in Java, we are going to talk about try back, catch block, throw, throwable. So whatever is there in the syllabus, we are going to see that. So without wasting much time, let us start with the module 3. So module 3 is introduction to, first topic is introducing the class. So as all of you know, the class is going to be the core of the Java programming. The class is going to be the core of the Java programming. See, in C++, what is happened? We have written two types of programs. One with using class, one without using class. But here in Java, it is suggested to use class always. Start the program itself with the class. Start the program itself with the class. So when you define the class is going to work as a constructor. It is going to work as a constructor, and with respect to object, we are going to execute the entire program, right? So if you take any object oriented programming in either might be Java, C++, Python, PHP, .NET, C#.NET, or whichever it is, class plays a vital role. Class plays a vital role in any of the object oriented programming languages, right? So coming to Java also, class plays vital role. So within a class, we are going to encapsulate, or we are going to incorporate all the features, all the concepts which we required with respect to that particular program. Say for example, if I am writing addition of two numbers program, so that logic, the components will be incorporated in the class, right? Fine. So how we are going to define the class? So already you know. So to define the class, we are going to use either the methods of like public, private, default, protected. So there is no limitation on the class actually, but most of the times we will use class followed by the class name. But you can also specify the access specifier for the class, right? So what will happen when we define the class? Can any one of you tell me, because already we are discussing about this class for a long time, can any one of you tell me what exactly will happen the moment we define the class in Java? What will happen if the moment we define the class? Or let me put like this so that you can understand. What will happen the moment compiler sees main function in C programming? In C programming, the moment compiler sees main function, what is going to happen? Yes? Are you with me or sleeping? What will happen when the moment compiler sees the main function in C programming? Hello? I am not asking what is cryogenic engine, what is the formula used for cryogenic engine when launching the rocket from the SHAR, right? Sriharikota Launching Center. No. I'm asking what will happen when compiler sees the main program, main function in C program. Not even single answer. All right. So for any C programming, the main function is going to be the starting of the program. The moment compiler sees the main function, it will understand that, okay, this is where I need to start the execution. This is where we need to start the execution of the program. So the starting of the C program is going to be main function, not your header files. Header files is the default header files which we are using, but the main function, the moment compiler reads the main function, then it will start its execution. Did you ever trace the program? Did you ever trace the program C programming? No one? Did you ever try tracing the programs in your code blocks or any software? Am I audible? At least tell me that. I'm getting doubt now. Okay, some answer is there. We'll see. Yes, sir. No, sir. Okay. Yes, sir. Right. So where the execution will start when you trace the program? Where the execution will start in C program? The moment you start tracing the program, where the execution will start? Main program, very good. Main, not main program, main function. See, the moment you start the tracing, the main function is going to start executing. So main function is going to be the heart of C programming. The heart of C programming is main function. Can we write multiple main functions in a C program? Can we have multiple main functions in C program? Yes or no? No. Ashish said no. Suhas, no. Right. So we cannot have multiple main functions in C program. Not only in C program, in any programming language, you cannot have multiple main functions because the main is going to be the starting of any program. But when it comes to object-oriented programming, the class definition is going to be the, still people are joining. Okay, fine. Yeah, coming to the object-oriented programming, the class definition is going to be the starting of the program. Class definition is going to be the starting of the program. See, the moment we define a class, the moment we define a class, so the program execution will start. So that is what we are going to talk about in the third module. So in the third module, we are going to talk about the basics of class, introduction to class, right? So here, I have one question to all of you. So in Java also we are writing main function, right? In Java also we are writing main function. What is the difference between main function in C programming and the Java? Can any one of you tell me what is the difference between main function in C programming and main function in Java? Are you getting my question? What is the difference between the main function in C programming and main function in Java? Because I am telling that in C programming, main function is going to be the starting of the program, where the program will start the execution. I mean, the compiler will start the execution. Whereas in Java, it is not going to be the criteria. In Java, it is going to be your class. So the moment you define the class, your execution of the program will start. Now, after the class, we are going to define the main function, right? After the class, we are going to define the main function. Now, in Java also we are using main. In C also we are using main. But I am telling in Java, class is going to be the starting of the program. Can any one of you tell me what is the difference? So we got some answer. We will see that. Ashish, first subfunctions are executed in Java. Okay. See, I'm not talking about the subfunctions. Fine. Subfunctions will be executed in Java because it is going to use the concepts of classes and objects. My question is very simple. What is the difference between the main which we are writing in C programming, the main which we are writing in Java programming? Okay, user defined function, subfunction, that comes later. What is the difference you observed between the main function in Java, main function in C programming? Any other answer? Yes, Harshita. What is the difference between main function in Java and main function in C? So we got one more answer, we will see. No, I think, yeah, objects needs to be decided in order to use. Good. Can you elaborate little bit, Ashish? Object needs to be declared in order to use means? If possible, you can unmute and answer, so you don't have any issue. All right. So let me put in a simple terminology before we go and start talking about talking about classes. See, what is the difference is, okay, we have one more answer, then I'll answer. In Java, main function will not return a value. Okay. In C programming, it might return or it might not return. That is also there. But technically, if you see the difference between the main function in Java and main function in C is, in C programming, the moment if compiler sees the main function, the execution will start. So that means nothing to do with the main function except compiler will understand that, okay, I need to start the execution here. But whereas in Java, that is not the criteria. In Java, main function is going to calculate or collect the number of strings and number of arguments in the program. Number of strings and number of arguments in the program, which we can further use it when it is required. If you remember in the first module, when I'm talking about difference between object oriented programming and procedural oriented programming, I said object oriented programming concentrates much on data, whereas procedural oriented programming concentrates much on the functions. Procedural oriented programming will concentrate much on the functions rather than data. So that is the difference. How the data will be collected in the main function. So in the main function, we are going to calculate the number of arguments or number of strings, how many we are going to use in the Java program, right? So the moment compiler sees the main function, so the main function is going to encapsulate the features of the class. The main function is going to encapsulate features of the class. So what does it mean? So the moment main is defined in Java. So let me just, okay, later we will see that practically how it is going to work. I'll show you. See, the moment you're going to define the main function in Java, it is going to encapsulate all the features of the class. So that means here in C programming, main is going to work independent to the program. Whereas in Java, main is going to work dependent to the program. That is class. That is class. So once you define the sorry. Once you define the class, we need to define an object. Once you define the class, we need to define an object to access the members of the class. To access the members of the class, we need to define the objects. So this is up to this we have studied till the second module. What we have studied? So we are going to define the class. We are going to define the objects. Why we required objects? So objects are going to create an instance to the class. Objects are going to create an instance to the class. So that means if you want to access the class members, you need to have the object. If you want to access the class members, you need to have the objects. How we are going to access the class members using object? How we are going to access the class members using object? Already you know, you tried this. Which operator we are going to use to access the class members using object? I want interactive session. I don't want to know, should be like a one-side teaching. Very good. We are going to use the dot operator. As Sumita and Ashish said, we are going to use the dot operator. Mansi, reference variable we are not going to use because the reference variable is going to store only the address. It's going to store only the address. We don't require address here. First, we need to access that members. So to access that members, we are going to use the dot operator, right? So that is what we are going to do here, right? Now, so this is the entire pictorial representation of class. This is the entire pictorial representation of class. So the moment we define the class, what are all will be there in the class? What are all there will be in the class? So class, how to define the class? Class followed by the class name. Already we have seen this in the second module itself. So class followed by the class name. And as I said, it is always suggested to define your class name starting with capital letter. Always suggested to define your class name starting with capital letter. And one more thing is your class name is going to be the program name. Your class name is going to be the program name. See, you may ask one question here. Sir, is it mandatory to, guys, please join the class before 2:20. Still people are joining. Today I am allowing. Next class onwards I won't allow. Please join the class before 2:20. That means before 5 minutes of the class. Right. See, you may ask question. Sir, is it mandatory to make class name and program name same? Is it mandatory to make class name and program name same? I think I answered this question. Can any one of you answer me? Is it mandatory to make class name and program name same? Yes or no?
It's not mandatory, sir.
Okay, very good. It is not mandatory, but why we are making it is in order to avoid the confusion. In order to avoid the confusion, we are making it mandatory. So if not, you can write different class name. It will work because today we are using IDEs. We are using IDEs. If you are not using IDEs, then the problem comes. But today we are using IDEs where in IDE, sometimes we don't even write the class name. We'll directly define as main class. So as per new version of Java, it is not mandatory to make class name as program name. But if you use any of the older versions like Java 1.6, 1.5, 1.4, there you need to make your class name as program name. But if it is above 1.8, after 1.8, if you install Java 1.8 and above, along with that, NetBeans is going to get installed. So there you no need to mandatorily mention the class name and program name same. Now, so how to define a class name is, class is class followed by the class name. As I said, class will be the keyword. Class name is going to be your user defined class. But the class name also will have some restrictions, some conditions when you are defining it. What are the conditions? You cannot start with the special symbols. You cannot start with the comma. You cannot start with the dollar, right? So you need to start with the either character or underscore symbol. And this class name, when you are defining, it should be a single word. You cannot define multiple words. Say for example, if I want to give the class name as SVCE Bengaluru, so the entire SVCE Bengaluru should be a single word. You cannot give SVCE space Bengaluru. So that is the first condition you should remember. Next, the moment you define the class, you need to create the variables. You can have n number of variables. You can have n number of variables. There is no limitation. Either you can have integer, float, mix of integer, float, what you call characters, string variables, any type of variables. They are going to be a mix and match. So it will be n number of variables you can create. So why these are all called as instance variables? Because for that particular instance, for that particular object reference, we are going to use them. For that object reference, we are going to use them. That is the reason they are called as instance variables. So first you need to define the variables in the class. First you need to define variables in the class. First you need to define variables in the class. Now I have one question for all of you. It is with respect to C++ also. See the variables which we are going to define in the class. The variables which we are going to define in the class, whether they are public or private. Whether they are public or private. The variables which we are defining in the class, whether they are public or private.
Default is public, sir. We can even make it as private.
No, 100% wrong. So the default is private.
Public, sir.
No, the default is private. If you want to make them public, you can make them public. If you remember when we wrote the program for the area, when you wrote the program for the friend function, what we have done, I told very clearly, class members are private. Why they are private? They can be accessible only within that class. But the member functions are the methods which we are defining. You can see here, we are defining some member functions, right? Some methods. These are all going to be public. These are all going to be public. These will be private. Suppose if you want to make these also public, along with this, there are two ways you can do it. Either you define this as public or you make your class as public. You make your entire class as public, all the members in the class will become public. So the default data type for the variables which are getting defined within the class will be private in nature. Why they are in private in nature? They can be accessed only within the class. Outside the class, if you want to access them, you require a permission. You require a permission. Without permission, you cannot access them. Right? So Tina is telling global. Okay. Right? So you require a permission. That's what I said. Java is used to develop network-based programming. What is network-based programming? Suppose if all 40 of you having some computers, I'm also working on one more computer. If we all of us, we need to exchange the data. We need to exchange the data. We can make the data public, but you cannot just access the data like that. You require permission. You require authenticity. You require authenticity, right? If it is a scenario, if everything is public, if anyone can access the another class variables, then where the security will come into the picture? We are telling one of the advantage for Java programming is security. If anyone can access your class members, then the security is not going to be there. Am I right? Am I clear? Is it getting confused? What I'm telling is very simple point. If your class members become public, if it can be accessed by anybody, then the security problems will come into the picture. Because once you get into software industry, you are not going to work as an individual. You will be working as a team. You will be working as a team. So only that team is going to have the access. Not all the members are going to have the access. So the simple example I gave is, for this one is your Google Drive. Your Google Drive. See, in your Google Drive, if you put some data, if you share with someone, you need to give them the access. If you are not giving them the access, they cannot access your data. Once you give them the access, they can also access the data. And the access also limited. Either you can give for viewing the data, you can give for editing the data. It's up to you. Viewing the data or editing the data, it's up to you. So same way, when you are when you are defining the class, you should be very clear whether you are going to make the members as public or private. Whether you are going to make the members as public or private. So depending on that, you need to make use of it, right? So this is how instance variables will be created, and how to declare the variables, what are the different data types we use in Java, and how each and every data type is going to work. That is what we studied in the second module, where we studied how to declare integer variables, Boolean variables, float variables, double variables, and also we have seen the type conversion, how to convert the integer to float, float to double, all those things. So once you define the instance, class variables, you are going to define the methods. You are going to define the methods. So what is meant by methods? Methods are nothing but the functions which you studied in C programming. Methods are nothing but functions which you studied in the C programming. So while defining the method, you should be very careful. You need to mention what type of data type you are going to use for that particular method, whether it is integer, void method, void with return type, without return type, whether it is a friend function, whether it is a normal function, whether it is a prototyped function, whether it is a scope resolution operator function. So all those things will come into the picture. So when you are going to define the methods, you should be very careful. And also you need to consider the parameters, whether you're going to pass the parameters or without parameters. Pass the parameters, without parameters. If you are passing the parameters, these parameters will become actual parameters. These parameters will become actual parameters. If you are writing body outside the program, there you are going to use again reference variables. As Mansi mentioned a couple of minutes back, we are going to use reference variables for this. They are going to be your formal parameters. They are going to be your formal parameters, right? So this is how the entire class structure will be. So the class will consist of variables and methods. Now, I have one more question for all of you. Can we write an object declaration within the class? Again, I'm repeating, can we write object declaration within the class? Is it possible? If yes, how? If no, why? Yes, Kavana, can we write object declaration within the class? Ashish or anybody, can we write object declaration? Ashish, sir, before the semicolon we can. Before the semicolon, what is semicolon? Which semicolon you are talking about? I'm not talking about C++. Please make a clear point. I'm talking about Java. Leave the C++. We are done with the C++ up to second module. From second module half, we started with Java. Now we are talking about Java. Can we declare object within the class in Java? Okay, my question is wrong. Sorry. Can we declare object within the class in Java, not in C++? Right. So this is going to be the question for all of you. Go back after the class, search in Google, search in textbook, wherever you want. Shield already there. I uploaded in MS Teams. You can download Shield. Again, I uploaded all the materials after IA. So you can download it, you can search. So Kavana is telling no. I want explanation, Kavana. Why? If it is no, why? Right. So this is a kind of what I say, like a twisting question for all of you for tomorrow. Tomorrow class, before I start, I'll ask this question. So if someone says yes, you need to explain how. Someone says no, you need to explain why. Right? And whomever I'm going to ask, you need to answer. You cannot keep quiet, just muting yourself. You need to answer. Right. So that we will see tomorrow why we need to do. The main method runs only once. Okay. Might be you are 10% correct. I won't say 100%, 10% correct. Still, there is a technical reason. You can go ahead and search for it. All right. So this is a general form of the class, how it is going to be. See, I'm taking so much time here because this is very basic of object-oriented programming and it's very important concept. It's very important module of object-oriented programming. Okay, this is the entire explanation, whatever I'm discussing till now. Right. So as I said, every class can be mentioned with the access specifiers. Already we discussed in depth about access specifiers in the starting of first module.
Sir, 1 second, sir.
Yes.
Sir, myself, Jijesh.
Sorry, sir. Tell me, sir.
Yeah, sir, are you showing any examples there?
Sir, now it is first basic will be there, sir. Theory. Once we complete this.
You have a lab for it?
No, sir. No lab for this, sir. But practicals I'm showing here only, sir.
Okay. So you will be showing the real-time programs.
Yes, sir. But because today only I started this third module, I'm explaining theory first. Then I'll show the practical examples, sir, and I'll give assignment for them also, on-spot assignment.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. That sheet you send me, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, then. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. So now we are going to talk about the access specifiers. So these are the access specifiers which we are going to use for any class or any variables also or any methods also. So these are the three first access specifiers which we have discussed: public, private, protected. Public, private, protected. So public is nothing but it can be accessed by any other member or any other class or any other program. Private, it can be accessed only of within this class or within the class. Protected, so it will be like a with permission. With permission. Protected cannot be accessed just like that. We require authenticity. That's why we are mentioning it can be accessed only when inheritance is involved. When inheritance is involved. Why? Inheritance is nothing but extracting the features of superclass to subclass. Extracting the features of superclass to subclass. So why we are doing that? Because when we want to access the same members of the superclass to subclass, there we are going to use the protected variables. That means they are secured. They are secured. And along with these access specifiers which we discussed, there is one access specifier in Java which is called default. Which is called default. So when you are not mentioning any access specifier, then the default access specifier will be there. So the default access specifier says that it is going to be public within its own package. Within its own package. What does it mean? So when I am defining a class, so it is going to be public only within this class. After this class, I cannot access it. After this class, I cannot access it. Why I cannot access it? Because it is public only to that particular class. It is public only to that particular class. After that class, I cannot access. So the again, you don't need to get confused here. The default access specifier for a class is public. The default access specifier for members of the class is private. Default access specifier for a class is public. The default access specifier for the members of the class is private, right? So like this, we are going to define the access specifier for a particular class, right? Fine. So any doubts till now, whatever we discussed today? Any questions? Any doubts you can put in the chat box or you can unmute and ask. No. Good. Fine. So these are the access specifiers. So I'm going to stop here. Tomorrow we'll continue with how to use access specifier for a class. So what is the table, like how it will work, and what is meant by class, how to define the class, what are the different parameters we need to take for the class, etc., etc. Right? So thank you for joining. So any questions are there, you can put in the WhatsApp.